Pittsburgh won the toss, and they've elected to receive, so we'll find out about Ben right off the bat. Mike Nugent to kick off for the Bengals, who come in with a mark of 10-4-1. Pittsburgh 10-5. Marcus Wheaton with a 24.6-yard average, ready to run it back, and Roethlisberger ready to take the field. Stomach virus notwithstanding, and off we go from Heinz Field. A yard in, Marcus Wheaton. Coverage is good. Bengals have very good special teams to the 19-yard line. Let's take a look at the Steelers starters.
Ben Roethlisberger, Miami Redhawks.
Le'Veon Bell, Michigan State.
Antonio Brown, Central Michigan.
Marcus Wheaton, Chandler High School.
Heath Miller, Virginia.
Matt Spaeth, Minnesota.
Kelvin Beacham, Southern Methodist University.
Ramon Foster, Ripley High School. Marquise Pouncey, Lakeland Senior High.
David DeCastro, Stanford.
Marcus Gilbert, University of Florida.
That offensive line doing a good job this season. The center Pouncey off to the Pro Bowl, one of 5 Steelers, and Roethlisberger will start in the shotgun from the 19-yard line against the 4-man line. Bengals nearly jumped. And then Ben hands it off to Le'Veon Bell, who swings to the outside, spins around, and carries the cornerback with him out of bounds after a gain of 6. So, Chris, without Roethlisberger going through his normal warm-up routine, what are you looking for at the outset here?
Well, you just try and see how alert he is. I wouldn't want to go into a game without doing anything in pregame warm-up. We've seen him before back in the bowels of the stadium running around and throwing. I'm sure he was doing a little bit of that. But based on what all the Bengals have been telling us this week about how they felt, and they've all been sick right down to their head coach, if he has a little piece of that, he's pretty uncomfortable out there right now.
2nd and 4 from the 25. And Ben flips to Le'Veon Bell, who picks up the first down. Past the 40 he goes, and he runs right over Reggie Nelson. So we talked about Jeremy Hill at the top of the show. Le'Veon Bell, Chris talked about him, and here he goes for a big gain of 21.
Well, you rush inside, and there's just nobody sitting to the outside, and this Le'Veon Bell could make things a lot more comfortable for Ben Roethlisberger. He just was too much for the Bengals the last time out, and he starts the exact same way in this one.
Catches a ton of passes. That is his 78th reception of the season. Second on the team to Antonio Brown, who will lead the league in receptions. And now Ben, a little screen, sets it up here. Bell escapes the first man, but not the second, as Vinny Ray makes the tackle at the 49. Roethlisberger has been an Iron Man, 158th career start. Tied for the most in Steelers history with the T-Man, Terry Bradshaw. But despite that, Ben, he'll miss a game a time or two. This will only be the 3rd season that Ben has started all 16 games. He normally played 14 or 15, but now from time to time, of course, he gets sacked so much and he's been hurt so much, but rebounds quickly. 2nd and 8.
Hey, 5-8. Lenny.
Over the middle, that's caught by Heath Miller, who gets or dropped by Heath Miller, who originally got his typical Heath Miller salute here, but he couldn't hang on. Incomplete, and it will be, well, now they're going to call him, no, incomplete. At first it looked like he made the catch. Crowd saluting him, and then the official comes in to say, nope, 3rd down and 8.
I don't even know how you take that salute back. How would you do that?
Right. In reverse. What would that sound like?
I'm not even going to try it. I have no idea.
It'd start with an H.
Yep.
3rd and 8. Put it back in the bottle, huh? I guess. A bunch of receivers to the right side. Send Brown out to the left, and Ben looks that way and throws, and it's tipped and incomplete. Reggie Nelson got a hand on it, so after the Steelers picked up an initial first down, they're stopped here near midfield, and in comes the punting unit.
Here comes Reggie Nelson out to get a little bump right there at the 5-yard marker, and he got just enough of it to knock it out of the hands of Antonio Brown. So for the Bengals, that was the kind of start they needed defensively. They've come in here before, and the game's over before they get to halftime.
Brad Wing sending it down inside the 10. It's fair caught there by Brandon Tate. So the Bengals will begin deep in their own territory. Andy Dalton ready to call signals when we come back. Now, Ben Roethlisberger, after he had guided them to their first few plays, went back to the locker room. He is there right now as Cincinnati takes over for the first time at its own 8-yard line. Jeremy Hill is the running back. And they start with play action, and Dalton is going to air it out deep down the sideline and incomplete. The coverage is very good, intended for A.J. Green. And with Ike Taylor out, Bryce McCain will see a lot of green tonight on the coverage.
Well, for the Pittsburgh Steelers tonight, they have 4 cornerbacks starting and playing in this game that have been cut by other teams. And it was A.J. Green in the first matchup between these two teams. 11 catches, 224 yards, and a touchdown. So what do they do on the very first snap? Go try it again.
Ike Taylor is out. Troy Polamalu is out. 2 key guys in the secondary for Pittsburgh. 2nd down and 10. And the first carry of the night for Jeremy Hill, the rookie out of LSU, picked in the 2nd round, is a gain of 4. So Andy Dalton started as a rookie, game number 1, and hasn't missed a start since. 64 straight starts. 40-22-1. And for a guy with that record, winning twice as much as Roethlisberger comes back, he sure takes a lot of heat.
He does indeed, but it would go away with a win here and a win in the playoff.
That's for sure. That's the whole thing. The Bengals have been to the playoffs the last 3 years, only to be one and done. 3rd and 6. And Dalton dumps it underneath and trying to get free, but can't. Jeremy Hill, he's taken down. Will Allen is there. Timmons was there as well. And it's a very fast 3 and out.
James Harrison coming off the edge here against what I think is one of the best left tackles in football, and Andrew Whitworth. Andrew Whitworth this season has not allowed a sack and has only allowed his guy to hit the quarterback once. So if James Harrison, his former teammate, is going to get there tonight, he's going to have his work cut out.
Kevin Huber, who is the Pro Bowl punter for the AFC, named this week. A booming kick. Here's Antonio Brown trying to get to the outside. Now he'll try the other way, picking up blockers. And Brown gets by Huber. Down the sideline he goes for the touchdown. 71 yards, the longest return allowed by the Bengals this year. And leave it to Brown, who's going to lead the league in receptions, lead the league in receiving yards in all likelihood, and a 71-yard punt return.
Well, you've got to stay in your contain lanes. Right out there, you have to be as deep as the returner. Once that containment was broken on the outside, it was over. And what a nightmare place this is for Huber. He came in here, got his jaw broken, and now turns right around and gives up the first points of the game. You cannot get underneath a kick returner as dynamic as one of the great playmakers in the game, Antonio Brown.
Good block by Garvin to help spring him. Sweezum's extra point is good. 4 minutes, 10 seconds into the game in the battle for the AFC North title. 7-0 Steelers. Last week, early in the game, a tip pass. A.J. Green was hurt. A keep to lead, intercepted it, and Denver led 7-0 early, only to have Jeremy Hill respond with an 85-yard run on the next play from scrimmage. So that got them right back in the game. Obviously, they weren't out of the game, but after the initial disaster, it was 7-7. And we'll see if they respond in like fashion tonight, as Adam Jones is going to run this one back. Not very far to the 24-yard line when he gets popped by Garvin, and back we go to Brown's 71-yard touchdown return.
Well, obviously, Antonio Brown, one of the great players in the game, but you also have to understand that he can do anything at any time. And Taylor Mays right here, he has to be as deep as any possibility of where Antonio Brown may come. You just cannot allow him back around, and you have to know it's a possibility. But when Kevin Huber broke his jaw last year on a block, it was exactly that same kind of a play. It was Antonio Brown embarrassing the Bengals special teams.
Brown has returned 3 touchdowns in his career for punts for touchdowns, and all of them have come against the Bengals. And the Bengals this season have covered 28 punts, and the longest return prior to that was 11 yards.
Is eligible. 74 reports eligible. 74.
Marshall Newhouse comes in, eligible receiver. You heard Ed Hockley on the mic. And from the 23-yard line now, the handoff goes to Hill, and Hill picks up a first down. Some tough running out to the 35-yard line. Here's the Cincinnati offense.
Andy Dalton, TCU.
Jeremy Hill, Louisiana State University.
AJ Green, University of Georgia.
Mohamed Sanu, Rutgers.
Jermaine Gresham, the University of Oklahoma.
Brian Hewitt, Stanford.
Andrew Whitworth, LSU.
Clint Bowling,
Georgia. Russell Bodine, North Carolina.
Kevin Zeitler, Wisconsin. Eric Winston, University of Miami.
Winston, the head of the Players Association, hadn't played this year until a couple of weeks ago when he was picked up by Cincinnati. Now the pass goes to the tight end Gresham, who picks up 6 yards. It'll be 2nd down and 4.
Well, I tell you, this Jeremy Hill has sure made an impression, hasn't he? He's come into Cincinnati, and he has given them a dimension that really they so desperately needed. When you play in the AFC North, you know you're going to have games like this where it's not going to be pretty, and you're just going to have to go in and fight it out with Pittsburgh and Baltimore and Cleveland. And his presence and his physical nature has really changed the look of this Bengals offense.
2nd and 4. There's the read option. Hill been running more and more of that. Of course, Andy Dalton did a lot of that at TCU in his college days. Mike Mitchell makes the tackle, and that'll be a first down.
This is the same play that the Steelers were beating the Bengals on last time. Pull around and watch Whitworth get hooked on the outside there, the Steelers outside linebacker. And right now the Bengals are doing what they've been doing here lately. I tell you, Jeremy Hill, the last few weeks has just been almost unstoppable. 147 last week, 148 the week before.
Here he goes again to the outside. Breaking tackles. And that's a gain of 22 yards for Jeremy Hill. Steve McLendon tried to tackle him near the line of scrimmage and couldn't, and he breaks free. 23 yards officially.
Well, this is just the stretch play. You get the 2 tight ends out here on the edge, and everybody's going to move to their right. And so far, the Bengals have been able to get to the outside. And when you watch the Pittsburgh Steelers over the years, they set a hard edge usually.
Pressure is on, and Dalton has to get rid of it in a hurry. Intended for a Hewitt, but the heat was put on that time by Harrison. Let's take a look at that Pittsburgh D.
Stephon Tuitt, Notre Dame.
Steve McClendon, Troy University.
Cameron Hayward, the Ohio State.
Jason Worlds, Carteret Ramblers.
Sean Spence, the U.
Lawrence Timmons, Florida State.
James Harrison, Kent State.
William Gay, Louisville.
Will Allen, the Ohio State University.
Mike Mitchell, Ohio University. Bryce McCain, University of Utah.
Here's Ike Taylor, inactive tonight on the sideline. Troy Polamalu inactive as well tonight. At the 28, Giovanni Bernard is the running back. Short drop by Dalton, and then the deep throw, and the only guy who's there is Bryce McCain, and he's going to come out of the end zone to the 4-yard line. So the receiver stopping his route, and then McCain is the only guy back there. A.J. Green coming up short. Turnover. Pittsburgh has the ball in a 7-0 lead. So Dalton trying to hit Green, who cut off his route, intercepted by McCain. And Andy Dalton and Green, 26 interceptions thrown by Dalton, intended for Green, most by any QB and receiver combo since 2011. Part of that would figure to the extent that Dalton throws to Green a lot more than he throws to anybody else.
Well, but Marvin Lewis telling us last night that most of his big mistakes have come in trying to force his ball into A.J. Green, and obviously that was one there.
Steelers now from the 5. Roethlisberger, who had the last series off because of Brown's punt return, gives it to Le'Veon Bell, takes it to the 9-yard line.
Well, a little hesitate and go on the outside on that interception by A.J. Green, and then Green knew he was beat. McCain played it perfectly, but by that time Dalton had already thrown the ball. But you see McCain there stop and carry himself into the end zone. So if A.J. Green had been able to make that tackle, it would have been a safety. So you can see the conversation taking place on the sideline, but I'm going to guess that's more on A.J. Green because Andy has no choice but to just see the double read and throw it.
2nd and 6, a little hesitation there. Bell really good at that, takes it out to the 14-yard line. Let's take a look at the Cincinnati defense.
Carlos Dunlap, University of Florida. Domata Pecco, Michigan State. Gino Ekin, all about the G. Go Dogs.
Wallace Gilberry, Baldwin County High School.
Emmanuel Lamar, Kansas State.
Ray Maulunga, the University of Southern California.
Vincent Ray, Duke. Drake Kirkpatrick, Alabama.
Georgia Logan,
The Boise State University. Reggie Nelson, University of Florida.
Leon Hall, Michigan.
So Vincent Ray taking over when Vontaze Burfict, who'd been the key to their defense, went down with a season-ending injury. He's done a nice job since. 3rd down and 2. As Roethlisberger gets good protection, then throws, and coming back to make the catch. Brown, but no, it hits the ground, incomplete. Antonio Brown turning toward the sideline, couldn't hang on. 4th down.
Antonio Brown working against Drake Kirkpatrick, who gets the start tonight because of the illness of Terrence Newman, and they're going to test him right away. But Kirkpatrick, 3 interceptions in the last 2 games, and that one just got away. So for the Bengals defense, yes, that was a bit of a drop there, but a huge stop, and now maybe the turnover doesn't mean quite as much.
Brad Wing to punt. Brandon Tate back. And it's a short kick, and Tate comes up. Fields on the run at the 47 and gets tackled at the 42-yard line. So good field position for Cincinnati upcoming with 6:44 to go in the opening period. 7-0 Steelers. There's your offensive coordinator, Hugh Jackson. He took over when Jay Gruden got the head coaching job in Washington in the offseason. Spent 1 year, did Hugh, as the head coach of the Oakland Raiders. In fact, he was the coach the year that Al Davis died and guided them to a victory in Houston, an emotional win that weekend. Now the offensive coordinator under Marvin Lewis. From the 42, Hill over right guard to the 40. Very definitely a running team. You saw the note about more rushing touchdowns than receiving touchdowns. Only the Cleveland Browns and the Cincinnati Bengals can say that in the National Football League this season. Must be an Ohio deal.
Ohio deal. They got, it's interesting. We were talking to Jeremy Hill last night, and he said one thing about playing the Steelers is they are so smart. You can have success on one play, and then they come back after an adjustment on the sideline and stop that exact same play. That time, the one that the Bengals hit for big yardage on the last drive came back and got stuffed.
2nd and 8. They empty the backfield. Go 4 wide with Dalton. To his left. Packs it in. Goes out of bounds about 4 yards shy of the first. Lawrence Timmons in his 8th season and going to his first Pro Bowl. Escorted him out of bounds. 3rd down.
Well, they end up going here with the extra offensive lineman in the game. So maximum protection, just try and block it up against this Steelers pass rush. But on the back end, just nobody open. Try to go the verticals down the field. And so now, after their defense does its job, gets you great field position back, Bengals really desperately need to pick up a first down and keep a little momentum going.
3rd and 3. Bernard is in the backfield. Bernard started the season as the #1 running back. Now he's mainly in on 3rd downs with Hill taking over as #1. They give it to him here. No gain. 4th down. Do they opt for a 53-yard field goal in a place where it's tougher to kick field goals than any place else in the NFL?
Comes Vince Williams right down. Here's once again that same pull the backside guard and tackle. Will Allen there getting there first, taking out the lead blockers, and no, they do not. They're going for it.
It'll be 4th down and 3. They spread it out, at least lining up to go for it. Very few 53-yard field goals have been made in this stadium since it's opened in 2001. So instead of bringing Nugent in and risking giving Pittsburgh the ball back at the 43, at least they line up to go for it on 4th and 3. And that'll be caught for a first down at the 25-yard line. Brandon Tate takes the ball to the 20. The Bengals on a 4th and 3 convert here to the 20-yard line, a gain of 14.
Almost a running pick. Two guys going through the same area, and they were able to get just enough separation there off Vince Williams to squeeze him out. So the inside tight end runs right through that inside shoulder, opening things up for Tate and a big first down.
4:15 to go in the quarter. Hill back in as the running back. They give it to the rookie, and he gets taken down at the line of scrimmage.
I tell you.
Now there's Dick LeBeau. Seen a few games in his lifetime at the age of 77. 56 consecutive season in the NFL as a player or coach. He was the head coach of the Bengals between 2000 and 2002. And then when he left, got fired, Marvin Lewis took over. Turned out to be a pretty good hire.
Yeah.
Hill picks up 3 to the 17.
Dick LeBeau was there for both Super Bowl games that I played in with the Cincinnati Bengals, and a guy just so well respected in Cincinnati. Of course, just finished doing 'Twas the Night Before Christmas, as is his great tradition, and he's a guy that pretty unique guy. He's a guitar, he's a scratch golfer. He's something special.
In the Hall of Fame, and not just for his coaching prowess, he was a tremendous defensive back in his playing days. 3rd and 6. Play clock at 3. Goal escapes. Shovel pass. Caught by Bernard. And Bernard to the corner and in for the touchdown. Giovanni Bernard leaping over William Gay, hurdling him, and takes the ball in for the score.
What a play by Andy Dalton. He had nothing working. Ends up scrambling out of the pocket. He's moving to his left. So what do? You just do a little flip option play out to Giovanni. Watch this. Think he wants to score? Think he wants a division title? Beautiful.
They capitalize on the short field. They go 42 yards. 7 plays. 5 of them were runs, just 2 passes. And that was a 3rd and 6 play.
After going for it on 4th down before.
Nugent ties it up with 2:43 to go in the first quarter. Heinz Field in Pittsburgh. Cincinnati 7, Pittsburgh 7. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania on this final Sunday night of 2014. First place in the AFC North, and a home game next week is the prize. It will bounce and be taken down by Wheaton in the end zone. The Killer Bees. The Bees in the Burgh here in Pittsburgh. You got Brown, you got Bell, and you've got Ben. And this is a team averaging 415 yards per game, second in the league only to the Saints in total yardage. Only top 2 finished back in '79, a Super Bowl year, second in the league in passing. Go back to 58 and '79. To see numbers like that. Offense, 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 and there they are. From the 20. And through the middle. No. So funny, through the years we've all been taught, you play in a cold weather environment like Pittsburgh or Green Bay. It gets sloppy. You have to run the ball. Then you got Aaron Rodgers. You got this offense here. It's all changed.
New England, Denver, yeah, they can't throw the ball at all in those kind of environments out there. But for this offense, and I think you have to give Todd Haley, the offensive coordinator, a little credit. He came in, he changed what this offense was all about, and now it's paying dividends.
And Roethlisberger's throw is errant behind Marcus Wheaton and incomplete. 3rd down and 4 for the home team. And there is Todd Haley, came here after he was fired in Kansas City, was the head coach there. Before that in Arizona as the offensive coordinator. And Pittsburgh was on the other side. In Tampa after the '08 season when they knocked off the Cardinals in a thriller. 3rd down and 4 from the 26. Ben rolling, throws on the run, caught. This time the Heath will stand, makes the catch, 1st down.
Anytime you get Heath Miller, who is closing in on John Stallworth as the #2 all-time receiver here in Pittsburgh. Lemur is a good athlete, but he's not going to shut down this guy. And I thought it was interesting what Ben Roethlisberger was saying this week about Heath Miller. He said, I vote for him for MVP of this team every year. He goes, look at what he does. The guy, the way he blocks, he's selfless. How could you not?
Steelers go no huddle, but not rapid fire. And that's a pass that's over the middle and is ruled incomplete, intended for the #2 tight end, Matt Spaeth.
I don't think Matt Spaeth can believe that. There was a lot of contact on that one right at the point. It was kind of directly over the back. He came up looking immediately, as did a lot of other people.
A little linebacker, Ray Maualuga was the man with the coverage. Minute and a half to go in the opening quarter. 2nd down and 10. And wide open is Brown. And Brown gets spun down at the 41-yard line, 3 yards shy of a first down by Maualuga.
Well, one of the reasons that Antonio Brown has 122 catches coming in, they do a lot of this. You get a brilliant punt returner who's already had one for a touchdown tonight. Let's see, does he hook the back of that helmet? If he did, but no call again. So back-to-back mini breaks here go the Bengals' way.
Brown's first catch of the game. 3rd down and 3 from the 41. Is the motion man. Low snap, and the Cincinnati Bengals are going to recover the ball at the 34-yard line. Wallace Gilberry is there. So Ben with the low snap couldn't field it, and Gilberry with the takeaway.
You just get the feeling that Pouncey may have snapped that ball a little before Ben was ready. There was nobody on the offensive line moved but Pouncey. Take a look at the rest of this offensive line. There was a little flinch, and then the ball just comes down on the ground. So right now, for the Cincinnati Bengals at least, no offsides. The rest of the linemen don't move at all. So clearly that ball was snapped at least 1 count early. Ben wasn't ready for it, and the Bengals catch a break.
That's your Pro Bowl center and one of your Pro Bowl quarterbacks, leading to the turnover. And again, a short field for Cincinnati. They cashed in the last time. This time the Bengals start from the 34, and Bernard is in the backfield. Dalton, after faking it to him, throws to him, and he gets wrestled down by Will Allen. WWE move right there. 2nd down.
Now, Will Allen, you think he's got some big shoes to fill out here for Troy Polamalu, and a guy that this defense is just different. There's no other way to put that. When Polamalu's not in, the X factor is gone, and the Cincinnati Bengals cognizant of that fact too.
They go no huddle to keep that same defense on the field. Green with a short gain. He'll be out of bounds at the 29-yard line. It'll be 3rd down and 5, and when the ball is spotted, they will wind the clock, and in all likelihood that will take us into the 2nd quarter. It'll be 3rd down and 5. They wind the clock, and that'll take us to the end of the 1st with the score 7-7 in the final regular season game of 2014. Sunday Night Football back after these messages. At the confluence of the Ohio River, playoff scenario, winner tonight hosting the Ravens. So Baltimore comes either here or to Cincinnati, and the loser of this game goes to Indianapolis on the wild card weekend next weekend. All right. Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, Michelle DeFoya start the 2nd quarter. 3rd and 5. Dalton throws to the outside, caught. Green, who suffered that bruised bicep last week early in the game against Denver, but and there's a little skirmish that breaks out. World's involved in it with Winston, but a first down here for Cincinnati.
Antoine Blake really getting a chance to play because injuries of Cortez Allen and Ike Taylor. A lot of room there for A.J. Green. And if you can attack the Pittsburgh Steelers outside the numbers, typically the one thing they will allow you to do is throw wide, thinking that it's high risk.
And here's Bernard. through the 17. Let's check in with Michelle.
Well, Bengals tight end Jermaine Gresham is on the sideline, questionable with a lower back, Al. And running back Cedric Pierman has been diagnosed with a concussion and is out for the night. Couple of Bengals injuries.
All right, thank you, Michelle. And with Gresham, a very key guy in their offense. You got Ryan Hewitt, who plays the H-back role, who will see, and he has been seeing a good deal of action lately, even more under the circumstances, likely. 2nd and 9. Hewitt lined up as the tight end on the right side. And a 3-man rush is all it takes. Cameron Hayward busting through to sack him at the 24-yard line.
I don't think there's any question. You're going to attack the Bengals. You're going after the rookie center, Russell Bodine. And that's their best pass rusher right there, Cameron Hayward, who's really stepped up, now leads the team with 7.5 sacks after that one. And if there is a weakness, they're going to have to shore that up. The Steelers doing a great job there, just getting the matchup with their best against the Bengals' weak spot. And it pays off in a sack.
Hayward picked in the first round out of Ohio State in 2011. Play clock at 2 on 3rd and 16. They just do get it off. Put the pressure on, pass to the outside. Bernard makes the catch, tackled at the 22, and that'll set up about a 40-yard field goal attempt for Nugent. Gay makes the tackle, 4th and 13.
On the outside, Andrew Whitworth against James Harrison again. And James Harrison is a completely different looking body right now. He's down to about 255 pounds. When he played for the Bengals last year, 280, because he was only in on rundowns.
This will be a 39-yard attempt. Nugent, 10th year in the league. Huber puts it down, and that gives Cincinnati the lead. So they cash in after the turnover. 10-7, Bengals. 10-7 Cincinnati. Bengals winning last Monday night, so it's a short week, not ready for primetime players. That's your original Saturday night live cast from 75. 1-13 on the road in primetime. Marvin in primetime is 7-15, second lowest win percentage in the history of the league. 0-5 on Sunday Night Football. Don't you know that all too well? What's wrong with your old team? Afraid of the dark?
I don't know. They exercised a few demons last week, though against Peyton Manning and the Broncos, getting a win on Monday night. They would love to see Saturday Night Live go away
sure.
into the horizon if they can get a win here.
Trying to exercise a lot of ghosts. That elusive playoff win, which they'll have a chance to get next week after 24 years. Touchback here. And Pittsburgh now at the 20. Well, you go back to week 14. That's just 3 weeks ago. 543 yards allowed against the Steelers, who went wild in that fourth quarter. The fourth quarter started with a 21-17 Cincy lead and ended 42-21 Pittsburgh.
Yeah, Andy Dalton fumbled on the read option play, and then it just avalanched on Paul Gunther's team from there. They were really disappointed. Felt like their team, as Marvin Lewis put it, spit the bit after that turnover. Gave up a 94-yard touchdown and could not stop Le'Veon Bell.
And Ben on a tight roll, throws, caught. That'll be, for the moment, a first down. And now officially spinning around was Brown for a gain of 13 yards.
Yeah, and they're going right after Dre Kirkpatrick. They're going to find out. And Geno Atkins inside is the guy that may well be the key to whether or not the Bengals can make a run here in the playoffs. He was, in my opinion, the best inside pass rushing threat that may have been in the league for a few years. Hurt his knee about 14 months ago, comes back, and they desperately need a second threat to Carlos Dunlap rushing the passer.
And Bell escapes at first. That was Iloka on the run blitz, who was able to slow him down and stop him for a loss.
Well, they keep wanting to put Heath Miller in motion back and forth across the way. That time Iloka circled the formation and came all the way around here to end up getting in the backfield and making the play. Those sort of read plays. They call them Georgia Encounter. Went for about 200 yards the last time these two teams got together. Bengals been working on that all week.
2nd and 15 now from the 27. And Ben hanging in there, a little pump into the outside, and that'll be caught by Will Johnson, the fullback. Nice gain here, and that'll set up a 3rd down and short, 3rd and 3.
Well, I think one of the real unsung heroes is Kelvin Beachum, who's playing left tackle, probably the shortest guy playing left tackle in the league, this time against Geno Atkins, but so athletic. When you see him out on screen plays or pulling, he is just the guy. Doesn't look like a lineman. And Todd Haley a little disappointed himself, I think. He hasn't created more opportunities for him to use his feet and get out.
Yeah, that's how far we've come with offensive linemen when a guy at 6'3" is the shortest left tackle in the league.
He is the shortest.
30-second timeout.
30-second timeout here taken by Cincinnati. So Marvin Lewis, what he had to do immediately in the offseason is replace his offensive coordinator, Jay Gruden, who went to Washington. His defensive coordinator, Mike Zimmer, got the head coaching job in Minnesota. He elevated Hugh Jackson from the staff and then told Gunther, you're not going anywhere. You're going to be my man.
Yeah, and he's done a job. He really has, especially when you consider that Vontaze Burfict, who is the quarterback of this defense. Gunther has spent so much time grooming him to call the signals and to organize the defense, and he has just been a non-factor all year. But since they got Ray Malaluga back in the middle, this defense has gone on a run here in the last 4 or 5 games.
3rd and 4 now. Roethlisberger stepping out, stepping up, throws on the run, caught. Heath Miller for a 1st down, tackled by Iloka at the 42-yard line of Cincinnati.
Ben being Ben, this was Geno Atkins who got loose and forced him to move around the pocket. Of course, so much of this Steelers offense now is that quick release stuff, but every once in a while you will see Ben be Ben like he did back in the glory days. Good recovery there by David DeCastro. He looked beat coming off the ball, but Ben helped his cause.
These are the glory days.
These are the glory days.
Tremendous year by Ben. Is it his best year? Well, he doesn't know, but you look at those numbers. Pretty good. Under pressure, dumps it off, spinning around and getting free. Down the sideline goes Le'Veon Bell to the 15-yard line. Spun around Vincent Ray like a top.
I don't know how in the world Ben knew he was over there. Le'Veon Bell sneaks out here so late. They've got it well protected. Here he comes, scrambling around, flips it out, and then Le'Veon Bell, who I voted for as All-Pro this year. This guy in the passing game has simply turned into a force for Ben Roethlisberger. There was nobody open down the field. Only 2 guys. You flip it out there, a completely busted play, and you see Mike Tomlin doing what I'm doing. You are the man.
3 catches for Bell, 50 yards out of the backfield. 9 minutes to the half, the ball at the 16. Bell picking and threading to the 14-yard line. Here's Ben this year, career best. Most completions. Completion percentage is 2/3, 67.2. Most yards, franchise record. And Ben, who gets sacked a lot this year, a little less than normal, 1 per 18 dropbacks.
Well, and they're still working the ball down the field. Todd Haley, despite all the short, quick throws, they have 40 passes of 25 yards or more, which is tied with Andrew Luck for the most.
Brown moves to the right side. Ben pump fakes toward him. Directing traffic, throws too high and incomplete. Tried to hit Miller in the end zone. Iloka with the coverage.
Well, the Bengals getting no pass rush whatsoever. This Steelers offensive line getting the job done, and this one gets away from Ben. George Iloka almost cut Miller in half on this one. This is some shot down the field. I don't care who you are, how tough you are. These are the kind of shots that make you think about it. Legal shot, got his shoulder in there, but as gutsy as Heath Miller is, you remember those.
Iloka 6'4" and 220. Timeout taken by Pittsburgh. I think one of the reasons they may have called that timeout is to keep Miller in the game. He took a shot, needed a moment. Here's the shot from Iloka.
Yeah, bloody lip coming out of it, but he is not coming out of the game. He has played 1,044 snaps this season out of 1,077 coming in. I agree. I think they called that timeout just to get their number one threat on third down back on the field.
Third down and 8 now at the 14-yard line. Ben with that shoulder shake and then gives it to Bell, and he's going to get tackled at the 10-yard line. So it'll be fourth down. And the Steelers will try to tie the game with a short field goal from Sean Sweezum.
Vincent Ray there just in time, because we have seen Le'Veon Bell break out a bunch of those. This Vincent Ray ends up their leading tackler this season. I don't know where they would have been without him with all these injuries at linebacker.
29-yard attempt. Brad Wing sets it down, and Sweezum's kick is just inside the left upright. About halfway through the second quarter, the game knotted at 10 in Pittsburgh. A lot of Penguin fans, of course, here in Pittsburgh with Sidney Crosby and the gang. Having a good year, though they did get beat by Washington last night.
I tell you, you don't go around this town without somebody wearing a jersey of somebody. Right. It's a sports town.
Major from the 2. Here goes Adam Jones. Out past the 20 to the 28-yard line. Goes Pac-Man Jones. Well, this is a guy who spent a few years with Houston. Eric Winston, he's the president of the Players Association. Last year in Arizona. This year he actually signed with the Seahawks, but failed to make the 53-man roster. So he was at home in Houston working out, and he got the call when the Bengals needed a right tackle, and he's done a heck of a job.
And Marvin Lewis knew him because he was president of the Players Association. They had a bunch of meetings in Indianapolis before the combine. Really liked him, was impressed with him. Knew he was out there and took advantage.
Look at that hole for the rookie Hill, but it closes quickly. Coming up to make the tackle is William Gay.
You know, but sometimes it's the connections you have around the league. Mike Zimmer, the former defensive coordinator in Minnesota, had worked him out with another guy talking about Winston. They chose the other guy, but then Marvin Lewis called Zimmer and said, well, how'd he look? He said, looked pretty good to me, coach. And so they said, all right. And originally, Winston wasn't even on the list of guys provided by the scouting department, but because he knew him, that ended up being Marvin Lewis's choice, and he played great against Denver last week.
Andre Smith's injury precipitated the necessity for him to get signed, and then Green has it go through his hands, and it's deflected into the hands of Bryce McCain. So he has his second interception, and McCain runs it all the way back to the 28-yard line.
There's just no excuse. This is wide open. This is as easy as it gets from Andy Dalton. He throws high. He's got a wide receiver, A.J. Green, who got hurt on a high pass last week, and comes right back to it. This is routine. This is wide open in the NFL. Nobody underneath it. No excuse.
Especially for a guy like Green, that bruised bicep, limited last week, was out for a good part of the game, came back in, didn't make a catch, had a huge day 3 weeks ago against Pittsburgh, but the turnover here, and Pittsburgh now with a short field, the 28-yard line.
And Bryce McCain, what did Mike Tomlin say? He said, you don't have press conferences when you sign guys like Bryce McCain. He said, but I don't know what we would do without him and Lance Moore this year. Those are the two guys that do everything for us.
Wide 80. Wide side.
So the second Bengals turnover, play action, short pass underneath. Here's Brown, and Brown turns it into an 8-yard gain, run out of bounds at the 20-yard line. So the guy who's going to lead the league in receptions by a mile picks up his third.
You know, you come in here, and the Steelers had so much success running the football the last time against the Bengals, you just assume that's where they were going to go. Ben Roethlisberger's sick before the game, and yet it has been much more of a passing game, at least thus far. The strength of this Bengals defense, though, clearly in their secondary. That's where they have all their high draft picks.
6 minutes to the half. 2nd and 3. Quick flip right side. And getting blocking is Bryant. Martavis Bryant for the touchdown. 21 yards for the rookie from Clemson, who's had a great second half of the season.
Hardest block right here by Heath Miller. Watch him come out. And this young man, Martavis Bryant, that is his 8th touchdown. The last time these two teams played, it was back and forth, and Martavis Bryant caught a 94-yard touchdown pass, the longest play from scrimmage in the league. It has been, Ben Roethlisberger's never had a weapon like him. He's 6'4", he can fly, he can get behind people. The development of Martavis Bryant and Marcus Wheaton, really the difference for this offense.
Bryant averaging a stellar 21 yards per reception. That touchdown pass good for 21 yards. Set up by the McCain pick, and Pittsburgh is up by 7. Martavis Bryant, boy, I tell you, he is some compliment to Antonio Brown. You got the league's leading receiver on one side. You put this kid on the other at 6'4" and 211. Pair him up with Roethlisberger, put Le'Veon Bell in the backfield. Well, you know why they're number 2 in offense. And Cincinnati will begin its next drive from the 20-yard line.
Well, the Bengals fell apart in the last game between these two after a turnover, but it has been Bryce McCain tonight. This one probably you have to put on A.J. Green more than Andy Dalton. The next one, A.J. Green just wide open. Easy routine throw high over the top. And McCain gets another gift. So the Bengals have to piece it back together here. They've played well. Their defense has been playing great out here tonight. Can't keep giving it away.
Start on the ground. Oh. It's Jeremy Hill, kept those legs chugging, gain of 4. Andy Dalton in his rookie season has started every game, 20 and 13. The following year, pretty good, 27 and 16. All of these are playoff seasons. 33 and 20 last year. They go to the playoffs again this season. 18 and 17, not good.
No, and there's a feeling that he's frustrated a little bit because it's hard for a thrower to get in a rhythm when you're running the ball a lot. But you also have to make plays when you are throwing the football, and that's always going to be the issue.
2nd and 6. Hill will set up a 3rd down and a yard and a half with 5 minutes to go in the opening half.
Yeah, and whether it's fair or not, I mean, Andy Dalton's probably the nicest guy you'll ever meet in your life in the National Football League. An unbelievable guy. You cheer for him. You want things to happen. But this league comes down to, at this time of year, great quarterback play. You know, you're only going to see the great ones at this point. And tonight, it's Ben Roethlisberger. He's got to outplay Ben.
3rd and 1. And Hill with the fullback helping to lead the way. They actually put the H-back in there in front of him. Ryan Hubert. And a first down at the 31-yard line.
This Ryan Hewitt out of Stanford has really been the guy that they have been missing on this offense for a long time. Not only can he line up as a tight end, a few weeks back when Gresham got hurt, it was Hewitt who came in, caught 3 passes from a traditional tight end position. But his ability to be that H-back, to be the fullback, all those things has really jump-started this offense this year.
Gresham back in after missing a few plays. And Dalton will just have to fling it away. How about a game where we've had no penalties? Haven't heard from Ed Hockley one time. Can you believe that?
I miss him.
He'll make up for it.
Oh, Ed Hockley, he's a great one, though. I tell you, you don't have to think about what the call is for an official. Of course, we always enjoy talking about Ed and the guns. He's a big power lifter, you know. He looks great out there on the field, but not often when you play a game in the AFC North, you get no penalties at this point in the game.
26 minutes into the game. Nothing, not even a declined penalty. 2nd and 10. And Dalton needs timeout as the play clock had gone down to 1. Timeout, Cincinnati. Two quarterbacks. How have they fared so far tonight? Dalton, 8 out of 13, but for only 60 yards. He had that pass to Bernard, which went for the touchdown, mainly thanks to Bernard. And then Roethlisberger, 136 on 10 of 16. 2nd and 10 after the timeout. Blitz coming. Dalton under pressure. Sacked at the 23-yard line. Sean Spence comes in. 3rd-year guy out of Miami for the sack.
I like Sean Spence. He's maybe the underdog coming through the gap here, and Jeremy Hill with a good, nice first hit, but Spence just kept on coming. Here's a guy that sat out 2 years because of knee injuries on IR, but you put on the tape, they've got a #1 draft pick, Ryan Shazier, who now Spence is beating out, Vince Williams. It's been a 3-headed monster in there, but Sean Spence has been playing great.
3rd and 17. And they'll keep it on the ground and give it to Bernard. He'll take it up to the 31-yard line. And Pittsburgh's going to get the ball back with under 3 to play in the opening half.
Well, this is going to be the interesting matchup, right? I think the Bengals have gone all year without allowing a touchdown in the last 2 minutes, if I've got that one right. And the Steelers are one of the top teams in the league in scoring in the last 2 minutes. So here we go.
Hubert to send it down to Brown, who earlier in the game had that 71-yard punt return for a score. Slight wind in his face. A low angle kick fielded by Brown at the 10. And this time he'll get run out of bounds at the 23-yard line. So Pittsburgh 2:17, 2-minute warning to come. And they have a couple of timeouts. 2.
You know, we've talked about Todd Haley a little bit and what he's done with this offense, but the whole thing, first and foremost, was keep Ben healthy, right? Let's make sure our franchise doesn't get hurt out there. So they went to more quick passes, more screens. Around here it was called small ball, and, you know, nobody liked it. And where's the fullback? Let's run the ball. But over the course of the 3 years, this thing has grown into something now that is the 2nd-ranked offense. Ben is healthy at the end of the season. Le'Veon Bell is outstanding. They've got the top receiver in the game on the outside. They got good young receivers and a developing young offensive line. They got it going right now.
And they're exciting. Roethlisberger fires over the middle. That's caught. First down, Marcus Wheaton to the 35-yard line.
We haven't had much of a chance to talk about Marcus Wheaton, but he's the other young player out there. He and Martavis Bryant. Future looks bright at wideout.
2-minute warning. Pittsburgh 17, Cincinnati 10 on Sunday Night Football. Back we come to Heinz Field. 2 minutes to play in the half. It's 1st and 10 for Pittsburgh at the 35-yard line. 4-man rush. Dump it off. Bell. And Bell will get pushed out of bounds a little bit short of the first down by Moore. It'll be 2nd down and 1.
Got teammate on teammate, 2 Florida Gators going at it. Carlos Dunlap's going to come inside, and the screen's going to go outside of it. Marcus Gilbert, if I had to say somebody was the most improved player on the Pittsburgh Steelers, Gilbert early in this season was really struggling. Gave up a lot of sacks in the first couple of games, and yet over the last 13 or so, I think the coaching of Mike Munchak has kind of kicked in, and he has played really well. I don't think he's given up a sack over the last 13 games.
Call it 2nd and 2. Play clock down to 1. Ben hangs in the pocket, throws caught midfield. Wheaton. That's a first down for Pittsburgh. Clock ticking down, 1:45.
It's a little bit of the old Todd Haley offense. Hit that back foot and let's get it out. Don't give the Bengals a chance to get after him. They haven't sacked Ben Roethlisberger yet in the 2 games.
The Bengals only 20 sacks this season after being in the top 10 in sacks in each of the last 3 years. 4-man rush.
Oh.
And it's knocked down as Ben releases it. It'll be 2nd down.
That's a first. That's the first time I've ever seen Ben on a pump fake lose the football, right? Every single time we've watched him do this 1,000 times, and he always fakes us out and the cameraman out and all that. And that's the first time I've seen one get out of his hand. Yeah, that's how you know he's sick.
Right.
It falls out of his hand.
Had what they call a minor stomach virus earlier tonight. Didn't come out for warm-ups an hour before the game when he normally does. Didn't make an appearance until the team took the field. 2nd and 10. Again, protection very good. Pass caught. First down again. Antonio Brown out of bounds at the 36-yard line.
Well, I don't care who's playing receiver. You get protection like this line's giving him now. Watch this pocket. There is nobody close. Ben is standing there. He can step up. He can do whatever he wants. And realistically, if the Bengals are going to get pressure, it has to come from Dunlap. He has 8 sacks on the year. Atkins has 3. Gilberry 1.5, but none since the opening game. I mean, it has to come from Dunlap. And I think right now the Pittsburgh Steelers know that and are taking advantage.
126, as you see. 2nd most catches ever in a season. Marvin Harrison, an untouchable 143. That was Peyton Manning in 02. There's that pump fake. Going deep, and it's knocked away in the end zone. Dre Kirkpatrick was there to take it away from Martavis Bryant.
Well, I tell you, first of all, great protection up front once again. But that was some play by the rookie, Dre Kirkpatrick. It looked like he was going to get beat on this little skinny post. He got a chance to play because of Terrence Newman's illness. He fought his way back into this play and got there just in time. He's a guy that Marvin Lewis said, you know, he's may have been on the field earlier, but sometimes he gets so upset with me and pouts around when he doesn't get to start. He had to prove himself day after day after day, and now he has.
So Terrence Newman in the hoodie, and Ben throws after checking off, and that's incomplete. Flag is thrown, so we're going to hear from Ed Hockley for the first time tonight. 29 minutes into the game.
Illegal hands to the face, defense number 24. That's a 5-yard penalty from the previous spot and an automatic first down.
That's Adam Jones.
There we go, right there. See this a lot with offensive linemen and defensive linemen, but that time right to the face for Adam Jones. I tell you, it is tough to play defense anymore, and you just get the feeling now this Pittsburgh Steelers offense starting to have their way. If they don't start getting some pressure on Ben, it's going to be a long night for the Bengals.
A first down from the 31 to the outside, and that's caught. Brown makes his 5th catch of the night, and that's going to be a first down.
That is a gutsy throw. You're on the far hash, and you're going to throw all the way across the field. Kirkpatrick, I think I said he was a rookie earlier. He's not a rookie, but comes within a whisper of getting that ball. If that throw isn't perfect, it could turn into 6 points the other way. Big time throw.
Kirkpatrick with the 2 late picks against Peyton Manning last week in the Denver game.
Right.
A minute 4, 1st and 10 from the 21. And Ben down the sideline and incomplete. Crowd looks for a flag. Leon Hall with the coverage. They do get a flag here.
Yeah, Leon Hall, no reason for that push. He was in perfect position.
I wonder if it's even catchable. That's we're going to talk about here.
Pass interference, defense number 29. The ball is placed at the spot of the foul. First down.
Marcus Wheaton just going to go on a little swing up the field here, but you'll see how late it is that Leon Hall gets into him, and he had him. All he had to do is turn and run with him. There was nowhere else. The ball could not have been completed, and yet he extended those arms and drew the foul.
Almost out of bounds at that point, too. So 1st and goal now from the 10-yard line with a minute to play. They split Bell out to the right, put Miller in the slot to the left. Shallow cross over the middle there. A little in-route run by Le'Veon Bell. And it'll be 2nd down and goal, and timeout is taken. TDs last 2 minutes of either half. Cincinnati allowing none. in 15 games, and Pittsburgh scoring 9. Tied for second most in the league. Trying to get in here. Trying to make it a 24-10 lead. Second down and goal. 54 seconds and 1 timeout left for the Steelers. Ben serving, throws, and out of bounds. Brown getting free, but running out of space. Covered by Jones. It'll be 3rd and goal.
It's getting a little embarrassing for the pass rushers for the Cincinnati Bengals. It's almost remarkable their back end could hold up for this long. And it's just been that way all night long. And I think that's a big reason why that they just keep throwing it. Basically Dunlap on the outside against Gilbert. And he's not getting close.
Now 3rd and goal from the 7. As Lance Moore has come into the game, former Saint. And Ben will fire into the end zone and incomplete. Tight coverage is there. Iloka and Hall blanketing Brown. It'll be 4th down, and in comes the field goal group.
It's one of those, if the throw had been just a little bit lower, I think you might have had a touchdown here. The ball got up, and it gave Leon Hall a chance to get back into it. See him trying to drive it and putting that little extra juice on it. I think the ball just got a little high on Ben.
Fastball right down the middle. Sweezum now comes in for his second short attempt. This one 25 yards. And Sweezum hits the upright and then gets the lucky bounce. So a little 25-yard chip shot with some aid. That makes it 20-10 Steelers. .40 seconds to the half. Pittsburgh's lead is now 10. Winner stays home next week to face Baltimore. Loser on the road in the wild card round at Indianapolis. That's what's at stake in the final regular season game.
Well, at least for the Bengals, they hang in. You know, a touchdown there on the road. You go in at halftime, it gets plenty tough. Really, for Andy Dalton at this point, he's got to start to establish something with someone else. A.J. Green has been so much the primary target. Jermaine Gresham's been hurt. Mohamed Sanu, only 6 catches the last 4 games. At some point, there has to emerge another receiving threat.
And Sanu none tonight. Short kick. Adam Jones still on his feet, takes it to the 30. So the Bengals with a first down. They have 1 timeout, and they will get the ball to start the second half.
Good battle. 2 great players on the outside. James Harrison really in limited play this year. 5.5 sacks, and Andrew Whitworth, who I voted for All-Pro. I thought he's been the best tackle around this season. Pretty amazing. Only 1 hit on a quarterback, no sacks all season long, and he's been doing the job so far tonight on Harrison. It was interesting talking to James Harrison. Andy Dalton was his favorite player when he was playing with the Bengals, and he came in the locker room, insisted on meeting Andy Dalton, and just was beside himself. He got to meet Andy Dalton, and now his dad's having to go get Andy Dalton.
From the 30-yard line, Dalton throws over the middle. Bernard trying to get out of bounds and pays the price as he does. That's Antoine Blake who gives him that shot.
There's just a little something about being a Pittsburgh Steeler. You're not out of bounds, certainly not a quarterback, so here it comes. And I have so much respect for these guys in the secondary. I mean, all these guys have been cut. William Gay, B.W. Webb, Bryce McCain, who's made plays all night, Antoine Blake. And here they are as a collection getting it done for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
And here's Dalton. He hits Bernard, and Bernard into Pittsburgh territory to the 49-yard line. And that's going to take us to the 3rd quarter. Steelers trying to get a home game next weekend on top 20-10. Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, Michelle DeFoy in Pittsburgh. Ben Roethlisberger, 191 through the air, 250th career touchdown pass. Slight stomach virus prior to the game, but all right. right now. Antonio Brown, third career punt return, 71 yards in this case. Andy Dalton, only 81 yards, 2 picks, both coming by Bryce McCain. Winner of the game hosts the Ravens next weekend. The loser goes to Indianapolis. And Cincinnati's going to wind up with the ball, receiving the second half kickoff. What are you looking for here?
I think the Bengals are going to try and get back to the running game. You know, that was the one thing that worked early on for them. They were disappointed they didn't call more runs the first time they played. That is the one area that they've really been strong in this year, and they're going to have to win the game with it.
Adam Jones from the 2. And he runs it back out to the 30, tackled there by Shamarko Thomas. We go to Michelle.
Well, Marvin Lewis told me at halftime, plain and simple, Andy Dalton has got to be better. And he said they've got to get pressure on Ben Roethlisberger, and he's counting on his defensive linemen to win their one-on-one matchups. But Mike Tomlin told me his offensive line has grown up this season. He expects the 5 of them to be able to protect against a 4-man rush. And as for Ben Roethlisberger's health, he said he's just fine now.
All right, thank you, Michelle. And that line has done the job. No pressure at all on Roethlisberger. And now they start on the ground to the Bengals here with Jeremy Hill, his 12th carry of the night. He's been such a big factor. Came on in the second half of the season. They started with Giovanni Bernard as their #1 back, and then Hill saw spot duty, and then he took over about halfway through the season. And think about this. He's playing down there at LSU with Odell Beckham. There's a little bit of talent in Baton Rouge.
Yeah.
Jeremy's he's a Baton Rouge kid. He grew up there, and there was no question he was going to matriculate at Louisiana State. And a little patient here, but nothing develops for him to the 35. He goes, it'll be 3rd down and 5.
Yeah, and of course, Odell Beckham, we asked him about the catch that we saw in New York, and he said, honestly, it wasn't even in the top 10 of catches I've seen Odell Beckham make. So we have the best is yet to come, I guess. But this young man right here, Hugh Jackson, the offensive coordinator, sat down Jeremy Hill and said, listen, you are the guy now. I know you're a rookie, but you are the guy. You have to take over this offense. And he took it to heart, and he's been doing that the last couple of weeks.
3rd and 5. Steelers crowding the line. Now they back off. Dalton under pressure, throws caught. That's the 1st down, and into Pittsburgh territory goes Mohamed Sanu, who's been dropping a lot of passes this season. That's one of the reasons he's fallen out of favor as a Dalton target.
Well, you want to have reason for hope in the playoffs for the Bengals. On the outside, Eric Winston, and on the other tackle position, you have Andrew Whitworth. Those guys have been playing great football. They were great against the tremendous pass rush of the Denver Broncos a week ago, and they've been getting it done here.
Now you go to the Wildcats. Sanu, who's an excellent passer. And coming in motion now, we got Andy Dalton wide to the right. You got Bernard in motion, and Sanu's going to unleash one toward the end zone and incomplete. And A.J. Green was there. He almost had to become a defensive back at the end of that play with William Gay covering, and there's a flag down in the offensive backfield.
Offense, number 84. 10-yard penalty. Repeat 1st down.
So they run a gadget play and wind up with a penalty here on Gresham.
Well, because you have Sanu in the backfield and he can run, you get one-on-one coverage outside with your best guy, A.J. Green, going up against William Gay. And if that ball had been thrown more in the middle of the field, a great opportunity. Obviously wouldn't have mattered anyway, but Sanu, I believe that's his first incompletion of his career.
Well, it won't be because it's a penalty that wipes out the incompletion.
Well, so he's still perfect.
He's still a perfect 5 for 5. But unfortunately for his team, it's 1st and 20. And that's Sanu in motion. Fake to him, and then Dalton just throws it into the ground. That'll make it 2nd down and 20.
Strange play there. Cameron Hayward basically tripped and fell down, but he tripped and fell down right into Jeremy Hill and killed the screen pass. But you can see Hugh Jackson now starting to dig deeper into that playbook, trying to find something to solve whatever Pittsburgh's been putting on him.
At the 41, 2nd down and 20.
Timeout Cincinnati.
And now Cincinnati, with that play clock about to expire, has to take a timeout. So they run a gadget play. They blow up what would have been the screen, and now they have to take a timeout. Not a good beginning.
No, it wasn't. And you know, you just get the feeling if they're going to win this game, the strength of the Cincinnati Bengals team is their offensive line and their running back, Jeremy Hill and Giovanni Bernard. So had success early going the extra offensive lineman, but when you get those negative plays or penalties, you just can't stay with it.
Look at that. Day games, he wins 2 out of 3. Night games, he wins 1 out of 3. Across the board. Oh, he's not a night creature.
Well, in fairness, you don't get easy opponents at night either.
That's true. 2nd and 20. On the stunt up front. Dalton escapes, throws on the run. That's caught, and that's Ryan Hewitt making the catch, and he's about a yard short of the first down. So it was 2nd down and 20, and that's going to turn it into a 3rd down and 1.
How about that play by Andy Dalton? And by Hewitt, it's going to come all the way across, but the only reason this play happens because the mobility of Andy Dalton. So now the touchdown pass, a little flip to Giovanni Bernard. It was a scramble by Dalton. Now he gets out and gives his team a chance.
Have the fullback in Hewitt. Hill is the running back. They give it to Hill, and he's going to try to dance his way around the corner, and he does. And does he dive and pick up the first down? See where they spot it. It's to be just a hair short, but a heck of a play to turn what would have been a 5-yard loss as he was chased by Jason Worrells into no gain.
When you're running at an angle like that, it is where you cross the boundary, and so this one is going to be very close. Where does he cross the boundary there?
Spotted just inside the 40. It's going to be 4th down and a short 1.
The ball goes, boy, it was close. That's a tight call.
It's a very tight call. You know, you can challenge that, but chances are you're not going to win it. And he's already used the timeout. So if you lose the challenge, then you're down to 1 the rest of the game. Bernard is the back. Dalton's going to keep it himself, and Bernard's going to try to push him to a first down. And forward progress, at least from here, appears to have netted him the first down.
They let him go. They did not blow the whistle when he got pushed backwards. And then it was Giovanni Bernard who kind of got behind him and pushed him forward. It looked like he was maybe not going to get it, went straight backwards. And then Bernard gets behind him. Watch this. They do not blow the whistle here. Here comes Andy backwards, and then Giovanni Bernard pushes him back across the line. And they gave it to him.
Had it, lost it, and got it back again. So they get the first down, have it at the 38-yard line. And now Dalton will dump it over the middle. Bernard will take the ball to the 31-yard line, tackled there by Lawrence Timmons.
You know, I just don't think that Andy Dalton does that enough with Giovanni Bernard. To get a guy in the backfield, and we've seen Ben Roethlisberger this entire year just keep giving it down to Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell, a guy that is really second only to Matt Forte catching the football, but that sets up a 2nd down and 4. As an offense, you can't get much better than that.
From the 32.
Now you beat their zone defense. So Dick LeBeau, here comes his linebackers now, or it looks like it. Nope.
4-man rush. Low throw, incomplete. Intended for A.J. Green, who had that huge day against Pittsburgh 3 weeks ago, but tonight he's been limited to 2 catches for 15 yards.
Well, what they've been doing is running the safety underneath here, Will Allen, whether he starts high and comes down or he starts low and goes back. So what they're trying to do is give Antoine Blake plenty of get-back room, if you will, so he can play way off of A.J. Green, and he has help underneath.
3rd and 4. Play clock at 2. To the outside, and that's incomplete. Intended receiver that time was Brandon Tate. Makes it 4th and 4. Now you're to the point where you have to make it a 1-possession game, but it's a 50-yard field goal attempt coming up for Nugent.
Yeah, this pressure up the middle, and one of the problems with Giovanni Bernard in the backfield is eventually he has to block a linebacker. That time he was really no match for Lawrence Timmons, and Dalton couldn't hold the ball.
Heinz Field, soft turf, weather conditions. You see 3 of 11 December and January in the history of the stadium on 50-yard attempts, and this one will make it 3 of 12. Something you don't see very often. The Steelers had only 9 guys on the field. There they were. Nobody was back deep on the Nugent field goal attempt. Up at a couple of guys in the penalty box.
I guess so. But Mike Nugent had made 15 in a row after that big Carolina miss, but now 0 for 3, 50 yards or more. And that miss puts this defense in a hole now.
First time Pittsburgh has had the ball in the second half, and they start from the 40. Roethlisberger, 191 yards in the opening half, and a touchdown.
White 80. White is tonight. Blue 20. Blue 20.
Fake to Bell. Ben's going deep into double coverage and incomplete. Intended for Antonio Brown, and he will draw a crowd. Iloka back there along with Dre Kirkpatrick.
And we talked about Ben Roethlisberger, just about as tight a motion as you could get. Straight up, straight through, driving the football. And here's that out route we were talking about. Put a little hum baby on that one. 59 miles an hour, about as fast as we've seen. I think about 60 is the fastest we've ever seen. So when he loads up on one, gets there in a hurry, although that pass was underthrown.
On 2nd and 10. Bell to the 40-yard line. They picked him in the 2nd round last year. Played his college ball at Michigan State. Big guy, 6'1", comes in at about 244. Tremendous year. A lot of talk obviously lately about Jeremy Hill, but don't forget about this guy, and he'll be going to the Pro Bowl at the age of 22.
Yeah, nearly perfect as a pass protector this year as well. We've talked about him as a receiver, outstanding there and a top runner. He is as good as they get right now in the NFL.
3rd and 10. Stays in the block that time, and the pass intended for Miller, and Marcus Wheaton was in front of him. Both guys in the neighborhood. Incomplete, 4th down.
Well, on 3rd down, you know that Heath Miller is one of the guys, and here's Vincent Ray out of Duke. Every Tuesday, the Duke product goes out and teaches class to 5th graders, teaches math and teaches reading, and that time taught Heath Miller a little coverage.
Brad Wing. Short kick, but it's going to take a decent Pittsburgh bounce. And rolls dead at the 18-yard line. 8:45 left in the 3rd. Steelers by 10 at home. Sort of hard to recognize him with that cap on. Of course, you can't miss him when he's on the field. Troy Polamalu, who's been such a stalwart here for years, but missing tonight's game, the 4th he's missed this year with a knee injury. And you wonder about him down the road. 12 years in the league. Now Dalton starts with a screen. Hits Hewitt. Hewitt gains 7 to the 25-yard line.
You know, I've known Dick LeBeau for a long time, and I asked him, could Mike Mitchell, the safety now that they brought in from Carolina, fill the role of Troy Polamalu? And he said, Chris, nobody can fill the role of Troy Polamalu. You know, Mike Mitchell's a talented young man, but that guy, Troy Polamalu, has been one of the greats. I think headed for the Hall of Fame.
And just spectacular to watch through the years, the flowing mane and all the splash plays. No splash play here. It's a 1-yard gain for Jeremy Hill, setting up a 3rd down and 3 with 8 minutes to go in the 3rd quarter.
Steve McClendon, the outstanding nose tackle, has battling a few different shoulder ailments here lately, but it doesn't look like it there. He's handling Bodine, and they have really tried to keep somebody right on the nose of Bodine. Now, Bodine's plenty strong enough. A guy that bench pressed 225 pounds 42 times at the combine, but still a young player developing, and they like him. They're not looking for anybody else.
3rd and 3, halfway through the 3rd quarter. Dalton will take off, and he's going to dive, but it's going to come up inches short of the 1st down. So it'll be 4th and inches, and they can't risk it here.
Top of the screen, Antoine Blake on AJ, nowhere to go there. So Andy Dalton had to just pull this one down. Jermaine Gresham back in the game at tight end. There have been pretty consistent pressure now. Andy Dalton at least feeling uncomfortable in that pocket.
Kevin Huber, the AFC Pro Bowl punter. But this one is a short kick that will bound out of bounds up near the 40-yard line. 6:38 remaining in the 3rd quarter, with the Steelers leading the Bengals 20-10 on Sunday Night Football. Pittsburgh now with Roethlisberger working into trouble and hitting Bell on the run, and Bell goes down. Hard tackle and holding his leg, so he picks up the 1st down, but the mouthpiece comes out and grasping for his right leg.
Al, this is the one thing that cannot happen to this football team.
Especially, remember, they had LeGarrette Blount,
exactly,
who was backing
right.
him up, and he talked his way out of town. Injury timeout. Well, the good news is that Bell was able to trot off the field, but he was limping. Take a look at this hit again by Nelson.
Yeah, one of the problems, sending your running backs down the middle. It's a brilliant route, brilliant catch. Reggie Nelson's going to catch him. Legal hit, nothing wrong with that. But you talking about the guy that this team cannot lose without LeGarrette Blount, Josh Harris, Dree Archer. And when he got up and ran off the field, this crowd started chanting MVP, and well-deserved. He is the team MVP.
Now you've got the pistol here, and they give the ball to Dree Archer. 3rd-round draft choice out of Kent State, a rookie. So they're going to work on Bell. They're going to the playoffs, so win or lose tonight. The question now becomes, how healthy can he be by next week?
Yeah, Mike Tomlin called Dree Archer a luxury, a guy that a lot of times is inactive because they just can't afford to carry them all. Josh Harris had 4 carries against the Bengals the last time these two teams played, but they are very thin behind Le'Veon.
2nd and 11, again protection. Miller makes the catch. Heath Miller to the 31-yard line. Last time these teams played, he caught only 1 pass. It was for a touchdown, and tonight Miller's been a key man for grabs.
You play against a great quarterback, you better get pressure on him. And really tonight, the Bengals have stuck with their 4-man pass rush, and it just hasn't been good enough. Obviously, there are so many receiving threats for the Steelers. Maybe not comfortable being in man coverage without Terrence Newman out there, but they haven't been close to Ben tonight.
To the outside. That'll be caught by Archer. Taken out of bounds right away by Kirkpatrick. 5:02 left as they continue to work on Le'Veon Bell.
What a superstar player he is. Dree Archer is an exciting young player. I mean, he was a guy that was the fastest at the combine, 4.26. But Le'Veon Bell does everything. Great blocker, great receiver, great runner, MVP of the team. And you can tell he's scared right now. He wants answers.
2nd and 6. To the outside, and that's caught. But a lot of traffic around Wheaton, who gets taken down to the 29. Started to mention LeGarrette Blount before. He was the backup back. Didn't particularly love his role. Talked his way out of here and winds up with Belichick in New England.
Actually walked his way out of here. Left the game before it was over. And that led to his dismissal. Landed in New England, and they're all thrilled up there. But This is major news if you're a Steelers fan. Keep an eye on this.
3rd down and 8. Ben again, no pressure, but it's intercepted at the 15-yard line. Picked off by Reggie Nelson. And a flag is thrown. And Nelson, for the moment, is down at the 12-yard line, and then another flag comes in. So 2 separate fouls. Again, Roethlisberger, good protection. But the pick here. And both flags coming after the interception.
Yeah, and that one, because Dree Archer had to be in the pass protection that usually Le'Veon Bell would be in. A little pressure on Ben, had to hurry that throw just a bit and threw the pick. Coming off the edge right here, you get Dree Archer, who's probably about 165 pounds, wasn't quite there, and Ben, who had been able to sit there and read Antonio Brown all night, had to get rid of it just a bit early on that one.
Been a penalty-free game, only 3 in the game, all on Cincinnati.
Well, there was at least one on Pac-Man Jones, Adam Jones, for a block in the back. I mean, that's a given. What happened at the very end of the play, I'm not sure.
That's the first flag. Now the second. Here comes Hockley. Eventually.
After the interception, there were blocks in the back by both teams. There was also a personal foul, unnecessary roughness by the passing team. All those fouls will offset at the spot of the intercepting team's foul. Cincinnati will keep the ball, 1st down.
All right, fully explained by Big Ed. 20-10 Pittsburgh.
Back in Pittsburgh, here is Le'Veon Bell leaving the sidelines and heading back to the Steelers locker room. Moments ago, they were testing the stability of that right knee, and here you can see he's with Dr. Jim Bradley, the team orthopedist, looking at the play where he got injured. They're looking at it in a replay review area. Here you can see the play yourself, and obviously Le'Veon Bell very concerned. Nothing official on his status yet, but he's back to the locker room, Al.
All right, thank you, Michelle. We'll check on that as he gets worked on in the Pittsburgh locker room, and A.J. Green makes the catch here. Tackled by Blake, covered by Blake. They've done a really good job on one Green tonight. Chris Dalton's only thrown for 135 yards. Green's caught 3 for 22.
You know, they keep walking Will Allen down to be that underneath coverage. You know, there are some ways, some crossing routes, some things that would be open against that if they can get to it.
Hill, and he can't get out of the backfield. On a 2nd down and 2, that's a loss of a yard. 3rd down and 3.
Will Allen's having a real impact on this game, so he's coming down, and so he can come back underneath in coverage, or like on that last play, come out and take on the pulling guard and disrupt the running game. So his being down at the line of scrimmage is having a double effect. It's helping on A.J. Green, and on that last one, stuffing a run in the backfield. He's having a great game. He really is.
2.5 remaining in the 3rd. It's 3rd down and 3. Dalton fires, open, caught. Brandon Tate, 1st down on a 3rd and 3. Tate gets the ball out to the 25-yard line.
You know, the interesting part about this game now, without Le'Veon Bell, assuming he doesn't come back the rest of this game, is the ability of the Steelers to do sort of their traditional grind out the clock in the 4th quarter is going to be impeded. So if the Bengals can get on the board here, they're going to be forced to continue to throw the football. The Steelers are, and so the Bengals would have a chance.
Now Hill to the 28. We go to Michelle again.
And the update, Al, on Le'Veon Bell is that his return is doubtful. As you saw him go to the locker room, he's being looked at, but return doubtful, Al.
All right, thank you, Michelle. And you could tell by the expression on his face the pain he was in, knowing what he was going through. And of course, the question becomes, what about next week? As you look at Archer, the other back is Harris. But obviously a gigantic drop-off. 2nd and 8. Dalton fires over the middle. That's caught. That'll be a first down to the 36. Gresham makes the catch. From the 36. Dalton flushed out. Throws it away into the Cincinnati bench. 32 seconds remaining in the quarter.
The Cincinnati Bengals thought they were going to have so many weapons. Marvin Jones with double-digit touchdowns a year ago. Broken foot, not a factor this season. Tyler Eifert hurt his shoulder, not a factor this season. Andre Smith, the tackle. But some of their receiving threats, and now Gresham on the sideline, some of their receiving threats just have not been there for Andy Dalton all year.
Second and 10. Snap a little wide, but he hauls it in and then converts the first down here as A.J. Green takes it into Pittsburgh territory, tackled at the Steeler 47-yard line.
That's the crossing route I've been looking for. You come in behind Will Allen. Let him come up underneath. Fine. Now come in behind him. Get between those linebackers. James Harrison, not a cover linebacker.
Dalton in the pocket. Over the middle. Hill. Timmons is able to knock him down at the 41, and that takes us to the end of the third quarter with the score: the Pittsburgh Steelers 20 and the Cincinnati Bengals 10. Sunday Night Football resumes after these messages. 37 degrees in Western PA from the 42. Here we go in the fourth quarter with the pass to the outside. Green out of bounds at the 32-yard line. Gain of 6.
You know, all that space they're giving A.J. Green on the outside starting to pay off a little bit now. Boy, what a game it would be. The Ravens come in here for a playoff game. That's always a madhouse if the Steelers can hold on here.
It would be their third meeting of the season, but if it's Cincinnati, then Pittsburgh would go to Indianapolis, and Baltimore would go to the Queen City.
I think Ben has thrown 6 touchdown passes in a game against both those teams.
To the 30-yard line on the ground now. On a first down play, Hill. He did that this year, in fact.
Yeah, but that is the classic matchup. I tell you, this Jeremy Hill has been fun for me to watch. He's a young man that is obviously going to be a superstar in this league. He's done things as a rookie that nobody has done. Kind of takes you back to Icky Woods a little bit for the Cincinnati Bengals.
2nd and 8. Dalton throws. That's caught. That's going to be a first down. And all of a sudden, he and Green on that same page.
Well, now they've changed up a little bit, and they've gone down in a little bump and run, man-to-man coverage against A.J. Green, and you just get the feeling Andy Dalton says, if you're not going to double him every snap, we're going there. This is a guy who had up to over 200 yards receiving the last time they met, and you can just feel it. He's starting to get hot now. He's starting to feel it a bit.
6 catches for 60 yards for him. And working his way through the middle for a hard-earned 3, maybe 4 yards. Goes Jeremy Hill to the 16, and again, here's Michelle.
Al, Le'Veon Bell went back to the locker room with that right knee injury. Now we're told it is a hyperextended right knee, and as I mentioned before, his return doubtful, Al.
All right, thank you, Michelle.
But that's as good as it gets. You know, assuming nothing's torn in there. I've had a hyperextended knee before, and it scares the living daylights out of you. But if there's not the stability issues in there, then there's a very good chance he would be able to play.
2nd down and call it 7 from the 16. And through the middle, picking up the first down and making it a 1st and goal goes Jeremy Hill before he gets forced back.
Well, we've talked about Russell Bodine a few times tonight. That time the big center comes off and uses some of that strength to get some movement. Great patience by Jeremy Hill. You can see he was just waiting on that to develop, and then like Le'Veon Bell, then he hits the Jets and goes through there. This has been some drive for the Bengals, a chance to get back in it. And you take away that punt return, this game has been very close.
First and goal from the 5. Hill cannot stiff arm Blake out of the way. Forced out of bounds. It'll be second and goal. You know, Chris, one thing that works against Bell, even though the good news is, as you said, hyperextension, they're going to have a short week. They're going to play on Saturday. He'll have one less day to get ready.
Yeah. Le'Veon, I don't know about you, but he impresses me every time I talk to him. He's all football. Went from 244 pounds down to 225 pounds, and he is the answer for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Bernard now in the backfield. Second and goal. Dalton off the fake to Gresham, in for the touchdown. Boy, playing in major pain, in and out of the lineup all night. Now he's hurt again, reaching for the leg, held onto the ball, crossed the goal line to put Cincinnati into the end zone.
Just a courageous performance by that young man. He was going to block on this play and try and maybe distract a little bit his coverage guy on that play, like Mike Mitchell coming out late. But for Jermaine Gresham, he has been suffering through this one, but making a difference.
Almost lost control of the ball there, but was able to gather it back in and into the end zone. He goes, and back to the bench he goes, where he has spent a good part of the night.
I tell you, if you play football long enough, you know the feeling. Sometimes you just start running out of body parts. You know, his back is hurting, and he grabs his legs. And it's a long season. It is a long season.
It's a 4-month regular season. We started September the 4th. We ended on December the 28th, and the second season about to begin next Saturday. Touchdown coming after the Roethlisberger interception. What a drive. 15 plays, 89 yards. Nugent now to make it a 3-point game, which he does with 11:14 to go in regulation. Pittsburgh 20 and Cincinnati 17.
How about Andy Dalton that last drive, though? I mean, this in many ways for the Cincinnati Bengals, they're not going on the road as a wild card team and winning a Super Bowl. They have to win this one. 8 for 9, 73 yards, and that touchdown to give them a chance here.
Longest drive allowed by the Steelers this season, and coming up through the middle comes Marcus Wheaton to the 27-yard line. So the playoffs begin next week, postseason. Arizona against Carolina. ESPN has that game 4:35 Eastern time, and then either Pittsburgh, Indy, or Baltimore at Pittsburgh. That's our game on NBC, 8:15 Eastern. Sunday, it's either Baltimore at Cincinnati or Cincy at Indy, CBS at 1:05, and then Detroit against Dallas, Fox at 4:40. And so we begin the second season.
It was about the same score when Pittsburgh went on their run in the fourth quarter when they played in the Cincinnati.
Here's Josh Harris, and Josh Harris, the rookie from Wake Forest, with a flag down, and he's out of bounds for the moment at the 14-yard line. But let's see about the flag, which is back at the 30-yard line, and the Bengals begin to celebrate, so that'll tell you what it is.
73. 10-yard penalty, repeat first down.
That's Ramon Foster, the left guard, and that negates a 59-yard run.
Wow. Ramon Foster is going to be right here holding on Damato Pecco. Oh, boy, you just pulled the shirt a little bit, and you could see Pecco just saying, where was it? But that really probably did not impact the play, and for Josh Harris, whew, that's devastating.
And 49 minutes into the game, that is the first penalty of the night against Pittsburgh. Go back to week 14 at Cincinnati 3 weeks ago. 229 yards and 25 unanswered points to win the game going away.
And now you get a little one-dimensional. Dree Archer in there.
It's 1st and 17. And Ben will throw, and down the sideline. That is Archer. Bengals trying to say he was out, but he was in at the 34-yard line.
Really nice recovery there by Marcus Gilbert on the outside to give Ben a chance. But right now the Bengals, I think, are going to start considering, do you want to blitz? When you put Dree Archer in the game at 170 pounds, do you want to start doing something you really haven't done all night? And that's firing a blitz or two at him and see what happens, because this is not the team they're used to having on the field.
Right now they have Josh Harris, and he's 5'11" and 210. Lines up deep in the backfield on 2nd down and 2. They give it to him, and he's going to work his way for a 1st down up to the 38-yard line.
Josh Harris was brought up from the practice squad in November of this year. He only has 4 carries coming into tonight, and those were all against the Bengals. And here he is again, where he's really going to be put in a position to try and win this thing.
Well, Archer was a 3rd-round draft choice. Harris was simply a free agent who made the team, made the practice squad anyway.
Obviously a much bigger guy, 210 pounds.
2 games. They have yet to get to Roethlisberger, and almost no pressure on top of that. That's a yard or 2 for Josh Harris to the 40-yard line.
You know, one of the things that is so difficult to do is to get somebody on Ray Malaluga. They really felt like that was the key to this game as far as running it. That time, Marquise Pouncey, the great Pro Bowler who's made the Pro Bowl every year he's been healthy in the league, just couldn't quite get there, and Malaluga makes a run stop. So they have to put the Steelers in some pass-only situations and then go get them for once.
2nd and 9.
Blue 20. Blue 20.
Ben with the play fake. Again, has time, throws, caught. Brown into Bengal territory at the 47-yard line. 1st down.
Well, one guy they're thrilled to have back is Matt Spaeth on the outside. There he's having to try and handle the best pass rusher of the Bengals. Carlos Dunlap missed the last game, Spaeth did. But anytime you end up in these one-on-one situations, Antonio Brown just flips guys around. I mean, they just simply cannot stay with him.
Half dozen catches for Brown tonight, 65 yards. Harris is in. They have a fullback in there right now in Johnson. Harris. He gets taken down in the backfield. Tackle made by Iloka.
Well, to me, the job Mike Munchak has done with this offensive line to see them grow. Look at the pocket. This is the way it's looked all season long. David DeCastro in there. We haven't talked about him. A puller, guy gets out in front, perfect protection there. They compare him to Alan Faneca and what he's done. Pouncey, Pro Bowl every year. Beachum may be their best player on that offensive line. Really has advanced with Mike Munchak's coaching on the sideline. That really has been the biggest difference from the start of this season when I watched Pittsburgh to where they are now.
2nd down, 13 from the 49. Again, Ben, good time, looks from behind, and then gets taken down as he crosses the 45-yard line by Wallace Gilberry.
It's a pretty sophisticated crowd here. The question is, had Ben started his slide in which he would have been protected before Gilberry got there or not? Pretty bang play, and they let it go.
Very protective crowd too.
Yeah, here he goes, starts down, and you can see not really a big hit and probably no time to react off of that hit. I think that's a good call.
So 3rd down and 9 at the 45-yard line. 6:40 to go in regulation. A home game next weekend at stake, and Roethlisberger has it knocked down, and then it bounces around, and it winds up in the hands of Pouncey, and he takes it to the 45-yard line.
Well, there it was. We've been waiting for it all night. You've got Dree Archer in the backfield. So finally they come to the blitz. They bring both guys out of the secondary, going to force him to block, and then athletic enough to get up and knock that thing down for a huge play. But Pouncey almost converted it into a first down.
Looked like Iloka got his hand on it. And right now at the 45 on a 4th and 9. Steelers with Brad Wing, and he's going to fake it and then throw, and it's going to be intercepted. Intercepted at the 41-yard line by Dane Sanzenbacher. You could kind of feel it the way they were lined up, the way Cincinnati was moving around on the other side of the ball. Instead of a pooch punt to try to pin him deep, they try to fake it on a 4th down and 9, and the Bengals get the ball in pretty good shape. At their own 45 with 5:43 to go. Battle for the AFC North title.
Ball game now.
3-point game, ball at the 41-yard line. Fake the inside handoff. Green tries to escape. Gain of about 6 to the 47. Back to the fake punt.
Well, Nico Johnson is right in here, is going to get the pressure, but the real key was the wide receiver, Dane Sanzenbacher, who stayed on the coverage of Will Allen there and was in position. And anytime you get a chance to make an interception on special teams, kind of nice to have a wide receiver in that position. Bold move. This has been a good defensive effort. And instead of punting them down inside the 10, maybe they go for the fake.
Down to 5 minutes. Hill on a 2nd and 4. Crosses the 50-yard line. Spotted apparently just inches short of a first down. Hayward making the tackle. Hill again the workhorse tonight. 22 carries, 97 yards.
It's a big guy. Jeremy Hill said he knew he was a little different when the first time he ever played Pop Warner football. He went 60 yards for a touchdown.
Timeout for a measurement. Chain gang comes in. They appear to be a few links short. That much. 3rd down coming up.
Yeah, Hugh Jackson's a pretty bold play caller here. You know, there's an opportunity. You probably go for it on 4th down if you really wanted to take a shot at something big here. You may get some man coverage on A.J. Green. That man right there is not shy. Well, not now. Here come all the tight ends, and A.J. is off the field.
So they come up with a fullback. Hewitt fronting Hill. 3rd and inches. Hill. And he angles that shoulder and picks up the first down. To the 48.
Well, here comes Zeitler, going to kick out on the outside here and give just enough room. Everybody's always looking for that quarterback sneak, so usually it's either quarterback sneak or off tackle because you can't protect both.
Follows the fullback into the line. We're down to 4 minutes left in regulation. Fake the Hill. Pass over the middle. Green gets free. Loses the ball at the 29-yard line, and the Steelers come up with it. Antoine Blake with the recovery.
Mike Mitchell came in and lowered the boom on A.J. Green.
And there is Green. Injured last week. Played sparingly the rest of the way. Down he goes here. Ball comes loose. Pittsburgh has it. Well, Antoine Blake created the fumble, recovered it, and then the shot came in from Mitchell. And right now it's taken this long for Green to get back up and wobble to the sidelines.
Well, just watch the play by Antoine Blake after the completion, strips the ball out and then goes and gets it. Incredible performance by some of these backup cornerbacks tonight for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But then it was Mike Mitchell who comes in and lowers the boom. Then the question becomes, Did he hit him with the crown of the helmet? Clearly he was a runner, so you can go helmet to helmet, and I don't think it was the crown of the helmet either. Clean play by Mitchell, head up, hit him with the face mask, and so now the Bengals, any comeback they may try to mount may be without A.J. Green.
And you said it, partner, the backup corners, Blake, big play there. McCain has 2 interceptions. And Roethlisberger with a ton of time, deep downfield, a little too deep, intended for Martavis Bryant, and a flag is down. Flag is on the other side of the field, completely away from the play. And whatever it is, it's a first down. Illegal contact, defense number 27, Dre Kirkpatrick.
Let's take a look. There you go, pretty clear cut. Get a young cornerback in there and just spins back into him. And for A.J. Green, with the concussion protocols and all that goes on, you're not just thinking about this week.
So first down at the 35-yard line. Cincinnati, 2 timeouts as we head down the stretch. They had to take a timeout early in the 3rd quarter. A little clock milking here. 2-yard gain for Josh Harris.
Now comes that really interesting point for Todd Haley. He gets one-on-one coverage on the outside with the leading receiver in the NFL, Antonio Brown, going against Adam Jones. You want to keep that clock running. You want to do all those things. But if you believe in your guy, and especially with Le'Veon Bell out, you're going to have that opportunity one-on-one anytime you want it.
A very interesting time for Marvin Lewis, too, and the utilization of timeouts. 2nd down and 8. Play action. Deflected. That helps if you're Cincinnati because you don't have to take a timeout and the clock stops. Carlos Dunlap got his hand up. It'll be 3rd down and 8 with 3:01 left.
There's the big guy. That's the best they have right now. Dunlap at the end of the game against the Denver Broncos really took over that game. We've seen him do that at times. Finally makes a play in this one and gives his defense a chance here on 3rd down. Almost have to get off the field here.
Archer in the backfield with Roethlisberger on a 3rd and 8. Bengals come. Pass is caught. Defensive back fell down, and Brown runs into his own man but maintains his balance and struts into the end zone. Kirkpatrick covering, and down he went. 63 yards on a 3rd and 8.
This is so brilliant on so many levels. Watch Antonio Brown fake coming back underneath and then goes behind. Somehow Ben knew what he was thinking. I have no idea. I thought Kirkpatrick played it perfectly. It looked like it was going to be a back shoulder throw, and then Antonio Brown kind of pulled him by him and goes for the touchdown. This has been the Antonio Brown show here tonight. He is the best.
Kirkpatrick went down. He got by Iloka, who couldn't make the tackle. And it makes it a 2-possession lead with squeezing for the extra point. 63 yards on a huge 3rd and 8. 27-17. Pittsburgh. Well, 2:50 left in the regular season. Kirkpatrick can only shake his head. And now the Bengals down by 10. Will take it from the 9-yard line. Adam Jones will bring it back up to the 24. Here's Brown's night.
Well, your best players have to take over in the biggest games, and Antonio Brown has just shown his brilliance tonight. There was nothing there on that punt return. Completely made it up himself. Of course, Marco Thomas got pushed right into a block. That's how the night starts, and how does it end? With the best they have, making a play that is beyond explanation. A back shoulder throw that somehow or another been through to the front shoulder, and Antonio Brown just adjusted. If they have that in the playbook, I'm going to be really impressed. I think that was just an adjustment by two veteran players. And now for the 11th straight game, Brown has at least 7 catches.
To the 30-yard line, gain of 6 for Sanzenbacher. Here's Michelle.
Yeah, well, meanwhile, A.J. Green went to the locker room. He's going to be evaluated for a hit to the head, and his official status is questionable, Al.
All right, thank you, Michelle. So as the clock ticks down, they're minus their #1 receiver. It's 2nd down and 4. Over the middle. Pittsburgh will give them all of the 5 and 6 yard drop-offs they want. Ryan Hewitt makes the catch. 1st down.
Boy, both teams come into this one and go into the playoffs next week with big losses. Arguably their best offensive player on both sides now.
And they don't get the playoff before the 2-minute warning. So 2 timeouts, 2 minutes to go, and a 10-point Pittsburgh lead on Sunday Night Football. Two minutes and 2 timeouts for Cincinnati. The ball's at the 37. And that's knocked down to the line of scrimmage. Cincinnati really needs to do right now is just get into field goal range. You're going to need 2 scores, and then kick it, and then onside kick it and hope for a touchdown.
They may need you to play wide out down there. This is a thin receiving core right now. Tyler Eifert, their #1 draft pick, no more. You've got Marvin Jones, who caught 10 touchdowns out. A.J. Green's not out there. Jermaine Gresham has been hurt.
2nd and 10. Dalton throws, dropped. Hewitt up at the 45-yard line. Going to make it 3rd and 10.
I have been so impressed with what this secondary that is just cobbled together at this point has been able to do. Bryce McCain, Antoine Blake, Will Allen, Mike Mitchell with the hit, William Gay. I mean, that's not top shelf. Those are guys that have just been put together because of injuries to Ike Taylor, Cortez Allen, Troy Polamalu, and they've been sensational tonight.
And they have forced all 3 turnovers. 3rd and 10. Dalton pressured, sacked at the 28-yard line. Jason Worlds catches him from behind. 4th and forever coming up. From they'll spot the ball at the 28.
Watch this, though. The tight end, Ryan Hewitt, is going to trip Eric Winston, and they give up the sack to Jason Worlds coming around. He has 7.5 now. But that's kind of the way it goes. Now good luck. 4th and 20.
4th and 20, and it's 4th and forever, as I say, but they still let the clock run all the way down, and now they finally take a timeout. So Cincinnati has 1 timeout. They let a lot of time run off the clock. If you're going to take the timeout, take it earlier. Granted, it's probably going to be moot. It's 4th and 19. Just trying to get in field goal range, then the onside kick. I think Tomlin may be expecting a Gatorade shower, so he takes the parka off. 4th and 19. Pressure put on. Catch made. Bernard. And he's going to get taken out of bounds, and Pittsburgh's going to wind up with the ball. I think Mike loves that jacket. And, you know, the sweatshirt, you can pour all the Gatorade you want on it. Get a flag on the play at the end of the play.
Penalty marker in the field.
After the play was over, unsportsmanlike conduct on the Cincinnati bench. That's a 15-yard penalty. It's Pittsburgh's ball, 1st down.
Well, the big plays, the 2 picks, and the rip out here by Blake. Biggest play of the game right there.
No doubt about it. Remember where we were in the game. The Bengals were down 3 and in field goal range with that catch. And then it was Antonio Brown with that bit of brilliance. And it was interesting watching that play back 100 times up here. Definitely a little arm push. Let's see. A little nudge there, maybe a little nudge there, but I have to say, and all I can do in my position is say, what would I have called if I were the official? I would have let that one go. I did not think there was enough, but sometimes it's interesting. If it were turned around defensively, we've seen that called plenty of times. Sometimes offense gets a little benefit of the doubt.
So Brown wins the reception title, the receiving title, and meanwhile Roethlisberger with that, and he drops the ball on the handoff to Josh Harris, who recovers. And Roethlisberger at the moment is tied with Drew Brees for the passing yardage title. They each have 4,952 yards. There it is. Andrew Luck winding up third. So the way it looks right now, Cincinnati will be seeing Andrew Luck next week, and Ben Roethlisberger will be seeing the Baltimore Ravens next week.
Yeah, and Cincinnati is not thrilled about seeing Indianapolis again. That team destroyed them in Indianapolis. They played earlier. I think went 8 straight drives without a first down. Congratulations, Pittsburgh Steelers, well deserved.
So they get a home game, and if they win that one, then they go on the road. But an easier route than they had in 2005, when they had to win 3 road games before the Super Bowl, and wound up winning it over the Seattle Seahawks. That was in 05. Well, you get a little back and forth going on here. There's Mr. Brown. What a year he had. Tremendous. Just great.
You know, the real story coming out of this game now at this point is, how is Le'Veon Bell? How is A.J. Green? I mean, because those are the 2 key components of these 2 offenses.